Good evening, welcome to my channel. My name is David Okon. I'm talking about the cost of living and I'm talking about militarism. I've been talking about capitalism before. These are all related to the cost of living. They are causing the cost of living in the UK. They are causing the cost of living in the globe, and they are the causes of all sorts of crises, and it is a system we live under. I've mentioned this in the other video. I mentioned them again. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and share with family and friends and colleagues, and also leave a comment below. And if you have time, watch the video and like if you like it, and let me know what you think about the video so far. The program, we are coming to 6 weeks now in operation, and we have been around for 10 years as a channel, but we are just beginning to work right now. And I've been talking about a private military system in Russia. They call the Wagner Group. I'm explaining their activities in terms of their workings. It's a private army in Russia, and it has been central in conducting operations in Ukraine, and therefore I felt it can work well to illustrate the idea of modern military system. And elsewhere, I said also that capitalism is about privatization. In We are beginning to see a lot of private military around the world, and maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Leave a comment below. Let me know. A lot of things to talk about, the cost of living, and if you understand the dynamics involved in the cost of living, you can solve the problem better. And a lot of people want emergency help. Here in the UK, we have emergency help from the government. And like I said before, my advice to people is to get help from the government. Go on to their website. If you're in UK, go into gov.uk and look at your local citizen advice. If you're in the UK, the citizen advice is the biggest advice service in Europe, probably one of the biggest in the world. Characteristically, most of them, these services, are actually struggling financially because of political reason. The government is not funding them, so your expectation should be managed before you even go there. You do a lot of work to access these services, but do a lot of work because it's your life, and there are help, financial help, non-financial help, and you got so many different sort of help in the UK in terms of the cost of living. In the UK, the primary solution to the cost of living is actually employment. If you don't have a job, find work and work as hard as you can. And if you don't have a job, if you have a job, then do everything to keep the work. And work is the primary source of income. Also, benefit if you're in the UK is also a major source of income, but it's secondary to employment. Employment is really important. But like I said before, there are jobs out there. There is work still. There is employment, but you can complement it with self-employment. if you have the strength, if you have the energy. But also, with a crisis like this, you can spend your money as much as you want, but you can also, do budgeting. Learn how to do budgeting. You can actually spend more time on YouTube, on my channel, on other channels, and learn how to do budgeting. On my channel, you get an idea that you should do budgeting. But perhaps in other channels, they can actually train you how to do budgeting, and do your best, and get much whatever help you can, and know how to do maybe your own financial statement. Develop these skills because you need to learn to be self-reliant. Under capitalism, you are individuals. It's so challenging to work as a family, as a community, because if we talk about individualism, we are basically talking about everyone for himself, God for us all. I know we can change, but it's not easy to do change immediately. Change can happen if we decide to change, to start thinking differently. Like I said previously, it's something I'll be talking about again and again in this program. But more and more I'll be talking about the cost of living. Everything else I talk about, I'll link it to the cost of living. I'm trying to talk about militarism. Militarism means fighting militarily, which is actually very common around the world. If you look at this material and the other videos, you will find a lot of information about a group called the Wagner Group. I'm talking about the Wagner Group to illustrate the idea of military workings and how it operates in different places. I will look at the Wagner Group and look at different elements of their functioning. Today I'm going to look at their involvement in with the corporate activity. Corporate activity means business, big businesses. So according to a 2022 joint investigation and report from European Investigation Collaboration, EIC, the French organization All Eyes on Wagner and the UK-based Dossier Center, Wagner Group has been controlling Diamville Diamond Trading, Diamville Diamond Trading company in Central African Republic since 2019. So you talk about diamond. We've been talking a lot about its activity in Car, Central African Republic, and in other areas like Sudan, South Sudan, and the Wagner Group are also been fighting wars in Ukraine. The main fighting force with a lot of stories around Wagner Group. Now we're looking at their activity in Madagascar. Madagascar is an African island. So the independent media group, the project, reported that the Wagner PMCs arrived in Madagascar in April 2018 to guard political consultants that were hired by Yevgeny Prigozhin to accompany the presidential campaign of non-President Hari Rajanarimapiana, Pianina for the upcoming elections. This is a difficult name to pronounce. Is Rajanarimapianina. Rajanam Pianina. Leave a comment below if you can pronounce that word. It's really long. How many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Almost 20 letters. Rajanarimam Pianina. Something like that. So this man, Harry Rajanamrimampianina. I don't know why somebody should have a name like that. People are really stylish. It's so long. I've never seen any name like that before. So this is you talk about Madagascar. You talk about an election there. You talk about somebody called the Independent Media Group. The Independent Media Group. The name of that Independent Media Group is called the Project. So leave a comment below if you know what the Project is. It's an independent. This is a situation the Wagner Group operating in Madagascar. In they talk about the project, which is actually Independent Media Group. The project reported that the Wagner EPMCs arrived in Madagascar in April 2018. So that's when they went into Madagascar. They went into Madagascar in April 2018. Madagascar, like I said, is in Africa. It's an African island. The reason they went there is to guard political consultants. And these political consultants were hired by Yevgeny Prigozhin. Yevgeny Prigozhin is the leader of the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is a private military company. It's a private business, which is actually a military group in Russia. It's funded by the government, the Russian government. Some people say the Wagner Group is owned by Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. Some people also say the number in excess of 50,000, mainly actually elite soldiers. Elite soldiers are actually commandos, special forces. They're highly trained, but there are also information saying about the Wagner Group that they also recruit a lot of prisoners, inmates. And these inmates are actually used as human shield. They're actually expendable. The expendable, if you're expendable, it means you can be used as raw material. As something which is disposable. I mean, if you buy a disposable plate, if you live in the UK or in Europe, in any developed country, maybe also in Africa, disposable material is something you use and discard, throw away. If you use it, you throw it away. So the Wagner Group, what they do, they actually recruit prisoners and they give them freedom to get out of freedom. From prison. I don't think they are given absolute right of freedom after the war, but it seems to me that these prisoners don't go back into prison. Most of them are going to be killed. They are not trained properly. That's the report, part of the report I've recorded in the other video. Wagner Group using these prisoners and all the other forces from, some of them are recruited from Africa, from around the world actually. Some of them members are actually recruited from Ukraine. And this report says the Wagner Group are actually the main fighting force. Every time you see a Wagner Group, which is a private army, think of Russia. Because Russia owns them in terms of initiative, in terms of funding, in terms of leadership, in terms of organization. Everything is Russia. Wagner Group is a private Russian army, and their nature of operation is subject to questions. Some people think they should be banned under the law, under the international law. I don't know how that is going to work because Russia is a major power. And under capitalism, under globalization, Russia is needed. And a country like the UK, America, or even any of the European countries are very cautious when they deal with Russia. They respect Russia because Russia has a lot of power. and influence. And it's unlikely. I know there are a lot of political rhetorics that, oh, we're going to fight Russia, blah, blah, blah. We're going to give weapons to Ukraine. But you see, the problem with the war in Ukraine is that it's costing lives. We are suffering the cost of living. The Ukrainians are suffering the cost of life and the cost of living as well in Ukraine, but they suffer the cost of life, and also the Russians. Because the people who are sent to fight in the battlefield are actually poor people. Their lives under capitalism, if you're poor, the value of your life is very low. You're valued less than somebody who is rich. Poor people don't value poor people. They value rich people. That's the culture. That is capitalism culture. People are taught like that. They're trained. The culture is what you learn. And that's why I say people are not learning war now. Even in families, people are fighting. And the reason I'm talking about militarism is not because of militarism, because I'm talking about human nature to fight each other. It goes from the grassroots to the top. And the top, I mean, people who are actually ruling the world, ruling countries, people who are power, who are very rich, multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires, people who are actually worth in hundreds of millions of pounds or US dollar, hundreds of billions, hundreds of billions of US dollars. That is their net worth, the money they have in their pockets. I don't know how big or small their pockets, but these are actually people who control the globe. They fight. There's wealth. Capitalism creates a lot of wealth, which is a good thing. Everybody like wealth. We like the good life produced by wealth. But you see, if we keep fighting, that's why I'm actually doing this video. That's why I'm talking about militarism. Because it costs lives. It produces the cost of living, all right. But it also kills people. If you're suffering the cost of living, you can actually die of the cost of living now. Because you see, under capitalism, which is what has always been in existence, you see the rule available ever since rule began, from ages and ages and ages. We have always had capitalism, and we will continue to have capitalism. It is not going to change. When you hear about socialism, it's actually operating under capitalism. That's why the Wagner Group is operating in Russia. Russia is a socialist state. It's actually supposed to be a communist country. Communist is an extreme form of socialism. So, when we talk about communism, we tend to think it is the opposite of capitalism. Yes, in theory it is. But in practice, capitalism has been grafted on communism and socialism has been grafted on capitalism. Capitalism is about wealth. It's about accumulating wealth. It's nothing else. You get money, you store money. That is what happens. You get a lot of money, you make profit. People like Jeff Bezos of Amazon, and Elon Musk, of Tesla things, Bill Gates of Microsoft. These are actually multi-billionaires. I think they are worth in hundreds of billions of US dollar. Their net worth. These are people who will never be satisfied with money. They want more and more and more. Nothing is really unique about them. They're just lucky. They're just smart. That's why they make money. They're smart and they're ruthless. There's something about people who make money. They stop at nothing to make money. And that is... But we all want money. We behave differently about money. But when society has really advanced, like we have today, the capacity, you know, the maneuverability to access wealth is dwindling. It's becoming less and less. It's harder and harder to get wealth now because there's more and more and more wealth, and this wealth are actually being concentrated in the hands of the few and not the many. This is creating a situation of an anomaly because we talk about freedom, freedom for all, for everyone. That's what democracy means. Everybody should be free. Free from what? Free from rule. The rule of the many by the few, which is what's now happening. People who are actually so wealthy are by default, automatically they are become rulers. And people who are so poor at the very bottom of poverty scale, these are actually the citizens, the many. And I've been describing citizens which are actually poor, who are actually, because there are two types of citizens: the super rich, who are actually the ruling class. These are the masters. And then there's another type of citizen who are actually workers. If you work for a living, doesn't matter how wealthy you are. If it is necessary for you to work for a living, working for a living means it's a necessity. People who don't work for a living, but even if they work because they want to work. A lot of people, even if they don't want to work, they should work because if they don't work, they're going to die. Nobody is going to help them. They will die. They will die of lack of food, lack of water, lack of medicine, lack of energy, lack of everything. So if you lack things which are actually basic, you face the cost of living, and sometimes you will face the cost of living as a crisis. That's what's happening now. Like I said at the beginning, please subscribe to my channel and support it. Do what you can. Watch the videos and give me a feedback. And so I'll be talking about the cost of living going forward. I'm talking about the Wagner Group. I'm trying to explain, to connect so that it makes sense. And because anything I speak here is very important because people need to understand it. And I'm actually doing this because I believe people can change, and I think people should change. If you think you are all right, you don't have a problem, everything in the world is cool, leave a comment below and tell me what your secrets are. Why you are so happy? Everybody around you are so sad. Why are you so sad? Everybody around you is so happy. Whatever is happening to you, because I know sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. Life is like that. Even for the rich, even for the poor. Actually, sometimes maybe the richer you are, the more worried you are, the more stressed you are, because you think about money. Money is really good. They can support your life. It's a necessity. But happiness comes from friendship only. You cannot find happiness. I mean, if you can make friends with money, fine. If money is your friend, then you are happy with money. Money makes you happy in that sense. But until if you genuinely a friend of money, if you can put money on the table and talk to money, have a chat with money, you have a laugh, you go to party with money. Money is your girlfriend, money is your boyfriend, money is your husband, money is your children. The only thing in your life is money. Money is your friend. Then money makes you happy. If none of what I said, if money is not your friend, doesn't matter how good money is, which it is. I want money. Everybody want money. You want money. And we should do everything to get money. But if you talk about happiness, you need a friend. And if your best friend is a dog, then, or a cat, or any other, when I talk about dog and cat, these are actually something most people know, almost everybody knows these to be pets. If they are your best friends, then they make you happy. Stick with them. If people make you sad, please get rid of people because you need to be happy. There is nothing we do in the world which actually not aim at being happy. Happiness is the ultimate objective. Even love makes you happy. Love connects you to your friends, to your family, to your children. It's a link. It's a linking factor. So love is opposite of hatred. Hatred is the cause of war. When you see Ukraine is fighting Russia, and Russia says we are fighting Ukraine because we love them so much. We are shooting at them. We are destroying their homes and their country. We are actually murdering their people because we love them so much. And the Ukrainian will also say, we have been shooting these Russians and we are killing so many Russians fighting to defend our country. You see, our war is justified. Maybe they are. I don't know why. Because Russia said they are right to fight Ukraine. And Ukraine said, obviously, if you think at face value, Ukraine is a sovereign country. And if Russia attacks Ukraine, then I have to ask, what did Ukraine do to provoke Russia? I have to confess, I haven't really understood the reason. If you know why Russia is fighting Ukraine, because Russia is the one fighting Ukraine. Ukraine is defending itself. That is clear to me. Because Russia came and attacked Ukraine. And Ukraine started defending itself. But in the process, the Ukrainians died and Russians died. And they can turn around to you, you know, Russians are our best friends. We love each other. And Ukrainian would say, Russia make me very happy. And Russia said, Ukrainians also make us very happy. I mean, it's good on them. If that is the case, so be it. But whatever you do in life, make sure you're happy. With or without the cost of living. If you have friends, this is an opportunity. The cost of living is an opportunity to spend more time with your friends. Because the crisis is so stressful here in the UK, but in Europe and across the globe. Different countries, different individuals and families experiences may be slightly differently. But overall, it is the same. It's a crisis, and it's going to go on and on. I mean, I don't know how long the cost of living is going to go on as a crisis, but I know the cost of living has always been there. The cost of living will always be there. So let us brace ourselves. This is an opportunity to look, to reflect, because people are being sent into public spaces, like in public library here in the UK. The government is actually sending people there. People who choose to go there because they are really suffering the cost of living can go to public libraries, and they can go to churches. And churches have always been part of the political economy of the UK and also around Europe. And actually around the world, church and the state are actually like brothers and sisters. I don't know which one is the sister or which one is the brother, if that is the case, but they're quite close. They like food bank in the UK, which is actually kind of like you get voucher from the government, and you go to something called the food bank. You get free food from there. It sounds really, really, really straightforward, but it is not, because advisors needs to assess your need, and you are in an emergency. So sometimes it's so difficult to get help from these organizations because they are also facing challenges with their budget. There's something called budgetary restriction. Leave a comment below if you know what budgetary restriction means. But is what charities are actually facing a lot of financial challenges, budgetary challenges because the government is not giving them enough money. The government have been selling off public assets, which are intended to provide public service. Now, the concept of public sector is there to moderate capitalism. Otherwise, capitalism would be extremely extreme. It's too extreme to support livelihood, at least for those who are in need. And those who are in need are actually those who work for a living. And public policy help produce employment for the population, the ordinary people, the ordinary working people. And this is the primary source of income, like I said. In terms of the cost of living, employment is critical. And if decent pay, if you work for somebody, you should be paid adequately. You should be paid adequately. I mean, the minimum wage and the living wage in the UK is wrong. It's less than £10 per hour. Should be £30 an hour minimum. That is because I'm a working class. Now, the people who make policy for working classes are actually not working classes necessarily. Because most MPs are actually multimillionaires anyway. I'm not saying all the MPs are rich. But if you're a millionaire, at least you're doing well. You may not be really, really, really rich. But most of MPs are actually well off. And their advisors are actually millionaires also. Almost all of them are millionaires. And these are the people making decisions on behalf of the poor. People who are actually cannot buy a house unless they borrow money. You see, people who cannot even afford to travel on a train, especially now. The train is so expensive right now. People who need to go to work. And also, there is tax. Every money earned by a British citizen is actually taxed, directly or indirectly. Direct taxation, like income tax, the VAT, insurance, national insurance contribution, or even pension contribution. All these are taxation. Nobody should pay NI, national insurance contribution, because it's a tax. Nobody who works for a living should pay taxes. And if they are going to pay taxes, there should be one taxation. There should be one taxation, and it should be limited. The lower you earn, if you earn maybe £10 an hour as a minimum wage, whatever working wage, I don't want to hear anything to do with living wage. Politicians talk about living wages. I think it's total nonsense. Don't talk about it. Talk about the minimum wage if you want to help. You don't need to name anything. Just pay people decently. See, the minimum somebody should get in this country, and this should be funded by the government, to especially supporting small and medium business who are private companies. Because private companies are poor. Private companies who are small and medium are actually poor businesses. Not all the businesses are rich. Anything to do with large business, corporate businesses are actually rich. So these can afford to pay decently without the government intervening to support them. But see, the irony under the current conservative government, the bigger the company is, the more the government is intervening to give them more billions and billions of money, of public money. And at the same time, taking money away from poor, giving it to the rich, which is a form of perversion, found under capitalism. So the kind of capitalism being practiced by the Conservative Party, which is actually on the the far right wing of the political ideas, thinking, and mentality. This is the one creating the cost of living, exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, or whatever war, whatever, The problem with capitalistic, because capitalism is always about war. People fight because they want more power, power with which it rules. Russia wants to rule over Ukraine. Ukraine is envious of Russia, and if Russia doesn't intimidate Ukraine, if Ukraine can find its way, it is going to actually take over control of Russia. But now, because Russia is actually more powerful than Ukraine, so Russia is winning and Ukraine is losing. The West knows it. The rest of the world knows this. Russia is a very powerful country, and every country needs Russia. They want to be friends with Russia. Even Russia's enemies are actually dissuaded from being hostile to Russia because it has so much power. The more power you have, the more friends you have. So don't be surprised if you see that even the Western world are actually, cowering up to Russia. Because Russia has a lot of power. The issue, by default of capitalism, which is actually a system of rule, by default of capitalism, Russia is the preferred comparable to Ukraine. If capitalists, including Britain, America, Europe, and capitalists in Russia itself, and capitalists in China and North Korea. I'm saying this because I'm saying, communism and socialism is fake. We show it around the world. Now everybody is going to capitalistic. The system has always been capitalism. I mean, if you look at the facts, there have been some what do you call, papering over, covering up the truth about capitalism, and featuring, featuring in socialism, communism. In Britain, the Labour Party is seen as a socialist party. More so in Russia, China, and North Korea, and South Korea has now kind of like come clean. It's now naked. South Korea is now operating openly. It's not ashamed of who she is. She's a capitalist lady. South Korea. North Korea is still proud. It's acting proud. North Korea is still, is claiming to be a communist state. Cuba, all these nations. A waste of time. And some African countries are still openly saying they are socialism. Socialism, in reality, socialism does not exist. The only system of rule is capitalism. This is what we find everywhere, especially now. And if you examine the global economic system is now, you can see everywhere, see capitalism everywhere. That's when you know capitalism has always been the mode of operation. And I've said it already in the other video that capitalism is about rule. Ukraine and Russia is fighting for dominance. Ukraine does not want to give in. It doesn't want to. This is what I think, because you can leave a comment below if you know. But you can only see. You don't have to look very much. You can only see and find out why should Ukraine not surrender to Russia, which is actually a mighty force. Because Ukraine wants to assert itself as a sovereign state, and it has the right to do so, to fight. Russia also may have the right. I don't know. You may leave a comment below. I'm not the judge. The only judgment I make is that whether you have a cause to fight or not. Fighting is wrong. You see, if we are to solve problem, we need to solve problem peacefully. But that is not happening. It's not going to happen under capitalism unless humans decide to learn peace. It's about culture. It's about education. It's about our belief. Now we believe in war. But the hope is that we can change and start believing in peace. That's all we need to do. But easy said than done. We we can change. And hopefully we will change and start practicing peace. From families, from individuals and families on the streets where young people are. A lot of young people are now fighting. Right as I speak, probably a young person has died on the street, having been attacked, stopped, boys and girls. I mean, in the past, men used to respect women. Not anymore. Because women, I don't know, but I think women now want to be like men. They're challenging men also. It's about power also. You know? So it's about power. So why do you want power for? Because you are actually trained to fight. Even young people are actually trained to fight. Boys want to fight girls. Girls want to fight boys. Boys want to fight boys. Girls want to fight girls. Just like in the movie. It's like Hollywood or Bollywood or Nollywood in Africa. That is the culture we have produced. We have created as humans. We are fighters. We want to fight for everything. With knives, with guns, with any sort of weapon. If you talk about children on our streets right now is in the UK is 10 p.m. There are children on the street. I actually think twice to go and walk and actually hang around the street. Being an adult, I know the risks. They know the risks more than me. They're more educated streetwise children than me because that is partly in part, is their home. There's something called gang. I've never been part of a gang in my life. I'm so lucky. Because they are actually violent. All the gangs are violent. They are not gangs for nothing. It's an accurate terminology to describe how violent they are, and they are territorial. Gangs are territorial. Every time they fight to gain control of territories. On the street, young boys, young girls, and there are girls who are now dressing like boys. And there are boys who are probably dressing like girls. So that, the idea of equality is part of democracy. Liberalism, we talk about liberal democracy, where men are equal to women in terms of peace and war. But they have chosen war at the moment. I believe even young people can change. If they watch this video, if young people watch this video, it may not be the best channel. But listen to what I'm saying. It probably is, go and do a research and build on this idea that we believe, so we are. What we think, we become. That is, for me, is the major source of hope. If I didn't know that fact, that little seed, if I didn't understand it, I probably wouldn't be wasting my time. I wouldn't be doing this video, because if I did, without believing in the future of humanity, if I didn't believe in the future of humanity and still doing this video, I would be wasting my time. But I am not wasting my time. I'm talking, hoping people will hear and listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if only one person listens, because I did a video yesterday, and now right now I got 12 views. It's very low. It could have been 120. It could have been 1,200. It could have been 12,000. It could have been 12 million, 12,000, 120,000, or 12 million. I mean, it's not impossible. Life is about possibilities. But I got 12. I got 12 viewers, and I'm so happy. If I only got one in 12 hours, about 12 hours now, since I uploaded that video, the video of yesterday, is a continuation of this video is a continuation of what I uploaded yesterday. So I keep asking people to actually look for these videos. Anything under militarism, I've been numbering them so that people can look for them. I don't know how easy it is. I'm trying to improve the way to organize this video so that people can access it. And if there is only one person viewing, I will be producing videos every day on this topic. I'll be repeating some of the points because in the hope that people will actually listen to what I'm saying, because a lot of people will be missing the other videos. So if you really like the topic and you are disappointed because you think you have been watching the video and I'm repeating the points, I'm doing it because this is a new channel. It's not a new channel, it's a new program. We are actually 6 weeks into the program, and we have been 10 years as a channel. If you look at my channel, you will see that it was created in 2012, but I did nothing with it for 10 years. Luckily, I decided to do something about it about 6 weeks ago. So we are still very few as a community in this channel. That's why I keep repeating everything I say. Not everything, I repeat as much as I can so that for those who are actually interested in the topic, they can actually understand what I'm talking about. Because my focus is to explain things so that people understand what I'm saying to the best of my abilities. I use some of this material as guides, as you can. The reason I use material I get from the internet so that you can go online and read about them. I cannot really use the old material. I will only look at certain things. I'm looking about the Wagner Group, who are actually a private army of Russia, and I'm trying to connect them with capitalism because they are private. Anything private means they are capitalistic, believe it or not. And we are so used to military system being public, but I said public was a temporary measure by capitalists or people who thought they were socialist. I don't say there is no socialism, there is, but the socialism never established as an entity. Because see, I believe that socialism was a reaction to capitalism. Capitalism is the actual root of rule. We began with capitalism when we began to set up rules across the globe. It has been global ever since. Every society have had rulers. Kings, queens, chiefs, whatever you want to call them. They have been rulers. It didn't start today or yesterday. And it's going to carry on. It may change faces here and there, but it's the same. Always about rule. It's just difficult to identify the truth about them. The truth is that every system of government, of the state, is about rule. Whether it is public or private, and my argument from the beginning has been that it has always been private. Capitalism has been private. The state has always been private. The military has always been private. But somehow we got used to the idea of the public. And so that we began to believe ourselves to be citizens. Being citizen would have meant, and it still does, that we have rights. We are the one, because democracy means rule of the people by the people. The people rules. People are actually citizens. They rule, but somehow, mysteriously, under the same democracy, you hand over your power and your ability to rule to a few individuals called members of parliament. That's the difference. You agree for them to rule over you. Now, I don't know how people do that. I don't know if they have choices. I mean, if people refuse to vote, because they realize that if they vote, the people they vote into power are going to rule over them. We talk about leadership. I think leadership and rule is the same thing. In practice, in theory, they're different. Leaders are actually there to facilitate the people. They're not, I mean, leaders are facilitators. They guide people, but they live with people in the same society, in the same community. And they live at the same level. They are just honored as guides. I mean, and leadership is temporary. It's not permanent. Because you lead for a purpose. You guide people when they need you to solve a problem. The problem of which you are an expert. Maybe if people are actually migrating from one place to another to look for pastures, to look for greener pastures, maybe if they are migrating to occupy another area where the land is more fertile, they need a leader, because people learn navigation when hunting. That was in the past. Now, the purpose of leadership is changing. Maybe at work, you need somebody to facilitate you to work, to do your job in industries. Or in politics, you want somebody, as you're a political party, you want somebody who can win elections, who can support the party and the party operatives. Leadership is there, but see, it's swallowed up under rule. Rule is where power is. Actually, it's where the dynamics occur. And that is what is happening under capitalism. Capitalism is about rule. I mean, if you want to talk about leadership, fine. But leadership and rule is very toxic. Because rule swallows up leadership. So the people we elect during votings, during elections, are actually rulers and leaders. Except in the end, in praxis, we end up with rulers. People who tell us what to do, like Boris Johnson, Prime Minister Boris Johnson of Britain, during the COVID-19 lockdown. He said, this is not a request. This is an instruction. It means you have to do it whether you want it or not. The law is evidence of rule. We talk about the rule of law in Britain and in the Western democracy and across the globe. You have constitutions, your instrument of rule. Constitution is a governing document. Governance is actually a form of rule. You see, there are rules in the constitution which people should comply with. If you break, the constitution is sovereign in many countries. In Britain, Parliament is sovereign. Parliament has a lot of, UK Parliament has a lot of power. They are typical ruling estate in Britain, also across the globe. This happens, this is actually the essence of government and politics. What I'm talking about is at the core of government and politics. And if people understand that, then they will know when the police say stop, you don't challenge the police. Police is actually is the what do I even say? Is the proof. It's a proof of rule. Because rule involves force. You know, consent, you make consent. I mean, the argument, political argument for general elections and other elections where the populist election, where people, citizens actually vote. The political argument is that you're giving consent. Actually, you could say the legal essence of political activity, including political party, political election, as in general election. The legal argument is that you are giving consent. Consent is permission. you're permitting the government to rule over you. Maybe the rule over you doesn't really ring true because you think of something else, which is fine. You got to think what works for you. But I'm saying what the state do, what the government do, actually rule over people. And ruling over people has produced violence and taxation, cost of living, fighting wars. Even when people don't want approve of these wars, the government no longer listen to anyone because you elected them. See, that is something called social contract, which is not a legal terminology at all. It's actually a political terminology, which means nothing in law. Social contract is nothing. It's something, plucked out of thin air. And it is used actually to justify government doing things you don't want them to do. Almost everything the government do once in power, the people actually object to. The majority of the people object to almost everything the government does, including taxation. Tax is proof of slavery. Because the tax money is given to the super rich. People who are already rich, the government give, under capitalism, the government give this tax money to the super rich. That's why there is the cost of living as a crisis. The government intervening in the UK, when it did, actually gave billions of pounds to energy company. The energy company who only weeks ago pronounced that they had made so much money they don't know what to use it for. And the government cannot help its fingers, its itchy fingers. It still took billions of pounds and gave to the energy company. And this is mythical. You cannot really imagine that the government can do that. But it does. It is a natural reaction of a capitalist. In a crisis, it's like a ritual. You see, giving money to the super rich during a crisis is like a ritual. If you don't pay, you suffer. It's pay time. It's like every billionaire is smiling during a crisis because that's the time they harvest. That's the time they get paid for their work. Crisis is so good for the super rich. That's when the government actually take billions of pounds and give it to the super rich. Take it from the poor. At the time, during the crisis, at the time when the poor, especially the poorest, are desperate for government help, the money is taken from them and given to the super rich. When there is crisis, and when the poorest are actually suffering, the government still take money from the poor, give it to the super rich, and call it taxpayers' money. And when the people say, please, spend our taxpayers' money on us now, we need it. The government say, no, we don't want to spend taxpayers' money on you because taxpayers are going to be upset with us. So, in terms of capitalism, in terms of what the government believes in under capitalism, taxpayers are actually the super rich. And the super rich actually don't pay tax. The poor pay tax, but the government says this money do not belong to the poor. It doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the super rich, who do not pay taxes. In the sense that the people who pay tax, who are actually poor, feel it. They feel the effect of taxation. If you feel the effect of something, then you are doing that. You're paying taxes because you feel the effect of tax. Negative effect of tax. Tax actually afflicts the poor people. The 80%, the 90% of the population are afflicted by taxation. Whereas, it doesn't matter how much taxation a rich man pays. It doesn't afflict him because he or she is so rich. He doesn't even bother. They earn so much money. I mean, they can give all their earnings away for free and still be rich because they will still be getting interest on their billions and hundreds of millions of dollars. These people are actually seriously rich. Imagine one person having 200 or even more than 200 billion US dollar to all to his name. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. They can pay all the taxes on income tax on their businesses. They can give it away, all of their profit. They personally will still be billionaires. They will still be super, super rich. So within that analysis, rich people don't pay tax because taxation doesn't affect them at all. You see, the cost of living doesn't affect them at all. The cost of living is for poor people. It's a crisis because the poor people don't have money. Simple as that. And during a crisis, the government is still giving money away. If you go now to the hospital, government hospital, which is actually most of them are now private clinics, if you go to them like the dentist, if you go to a dentist right now in the UK, the chances are that you're going to be sent away. You're not going to be, because it's full up. If you want to register for with a dentist, it's full. It's full. And even if you are registered, you are not given treatment. If you are given treatment, you are given very poorly. At the dentist, all they do is they pull off your teeth and send you home. They don't do implants. They don't really do complicated operations. They do that for rich people who are actually private customers. That is happening in the UK now. And the government is paying private companies to run healthcare in the UK, including conventional healthcare, health service, and dentistry. That is actually in terms of health and social care. That is happening. Health and social care regime is a private idea and it's a private project. So now, if you are actually not a private patient, you cannot get treatment in the UK. Whether it's accident and emergency, whether it is general practitioner or family clinics, whether it doesn't matter where it is. If you phone your family doctor today in the morning around 9:30, maybe around 10 o'clock, you are going to wait, most likely you're going to wait for between 30 minutes and 1 hour. You'll be on a queue, sitting with the phone on your head, on your ears, sitting with the phone, waiting. And when somebody answers, normally an administrator or an assistant answers from the hospital, and you try to book an appointment with the doctor, you will be told the appointment is finished. You phoning in the morning, the appointment is finished. The GP is going to, the family clinic, government family clinic, public health service, you're going to be told it is finished. There's no more appointment for the doctors. Literally. Let's say, can you book me one? No, phone tomorrow. They're not going to book an appointment for you at the clinic. They will say the appointment is full. This is actually in the morning. You have been waiting for an hour or even 30 minutes or an hour, waiting for your phone to be answered. This is the health public service in the UK right now. And you are going to be asked to phone the following day. And the same thing, they're going to tell you the same thing. The appointment is full for the doctor. appointment is full with the doctor. Maybe if you phone for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I don't know, perhaps. But if you phone them and tell them you can't breathe, or you're in a lot of pain, you're in a bad way, they will ask you to phone emergency. If you phone emergency, they phone them, and then they're going to say, take a taxi. Take a taxi. If you tell them, I don't have money, they say, we are not a taxi. The ambulance people, the emergency number speaking to you, they will say, we are not a taxi. If you don't have money, we are not a taxi. I can't breathe. I'm so sick. Then they might send an ambulance. If you tell them I live by myself on the whatever, and I can't breathe, if you don't send an ambulance, I'm going to die. Maybe if you talk to them like that, maybe, I'm not saying they will come, then they will probably come in 10, 20, 30 minutes. And when they come, they're going to accuse you of wasting their time. Why did you phone an ambulance? You're wasting time. You're wasting the other people who are sicker than you. They will take you. Once they come, sometimes they take you, maybe they treat you from home and leave you there. But most likely, if they come, they're going to take you anyway, because it will have been on the record that they came. If they leave you and something happens to them, they will have to answer. The problem will take you. This is how bad public services in the UK. The hospitals are not bad people. They are trained to be bad by the government. The government doesn't give them money. That's why the system has failed. And they don't give money because they want to shut it down. This is the public sector created to try and moderate capitalism. Now we have the current conservative government, which is actually driving capitalism along a fast track road. The fast road. We are going to the extreme right, and that's why the public service is destroyed. The Labour Party is most likely to come into power next year. I don't think the Labour Party is going to correct the mess the Conservative Party created. Because the problem with the Labour Party, in as much as they have a policy, I'm not saying the Labour Party is good, the Conservative is bad. They're just different. The Conservative Party believe in right-wing politics, which is actually pure unadulterated capitalism, which do not care at all about the poor. You only care about the rich, the ruling classes. The only thing they care about rulers. It doesn't care about slaves. But the Labour Party, because of its philosophy, because of its policies, they are socialistic, they are socialism, which means they care about the slaves. Although they themselves are rulers, their policies and their mentalities is kinder. With the Labour Party, you live longer if you're a slave. If you're a citizen, citizens are actually slaves. You live longer. I'm not asking you to vote Labour, because most people don't like the Labour Party in the UK. Even if the Labour Party is the party which helps them more than the Conservative, people love the Conservative Party. People are attracted to power. Conservatives are so powerful, they look really sexy. More sex, they are sexier than the Labour Party. Labour Party traditionally was actually, and the Labour Party keep talking about poverty. People don't want to be referred to as poor, especially here in Britain. The psychology is really awkward. I mean, the poorest people, the very poor people who are actually desperately poor, do not want to be embarrassed. They have their pride. They defend it with their lives, if possible. So they don't like the Labour Party that much. Because the Labour Party say, you are poor, we are going to help you when you elect me. Are you crazy? We are British. You, who do you think you are? And they vote the Conservatives. Conservatives talk about crime. They talk about foreigners. The Conservative Party tells the British people, you are in problem because foreigners are actually swamping your country. They are wasting your resources. The money we should give you actually being taken away by by foreigners. I don't know if the British people know who foreigners are. I don't know what they think. They're probably poor people, maybe from Africa, because Africa are so poorly promoted in the West. The Western countries loathe poverty. I mean, they don't like poor people. Poor people even don't like themselves. And they don't want to be known. They hide under the credit system. They borrow money so that they cover their poverty. They don't want to be humiliated. Africans really disgust Europeans. Because everybody in the world knows Africans are poor. Even the West Indies do not like Africans. They are total embarrassment to them. Even though, even Africa, when Africans come to Europe, because like, they look to fellow blacks. Because, there's also racism in the UK. And there's racism everywhere. Let's be right. If we are a white country, you are going to be discriminated against if you are black. And black people also discriminate against white if they're in the white countries. It's the same. But because white people are more powerful than black people suffer more than white people under racism. So in the interest of the black people actually to promote equality. But racism is a human phenomenon. Black people and white people, they're the same. But white people, because they are poorer, they are weaker, they are victims even in Africa. Even Africans don't like black people very much. Because, who would want to be associated with poverty, with poor people? Even poor people don't like poor people. In the UK, the same way. Poor people don't like poor. They are attracted to rich people. Because, wealth and power is so attractive. Rich people are more good looking than poor people. So black people now coming with their poverty to Europe. It's bad news. Even the Jamaicans, the West Indies, who are black, do not like black people from Africa. They are totally embarrassing to the society. They're so embarrassing to white people. They're so embarrassing to black people. They really shame the Jamaicans. Jamaicans are better off than by default. I mean, they are close to America. They are more westernized. More Jamaicans are actually richer than black people from Africa. And they think themselves superior. And who can blame them? I mean, if value is measured by wealth, that's what you get. So, I mean, if you are an African, try and be rich. And, be good to yourself, be good to your family. There's no point being poor. You stop embarrassing yourself by being poor. Stop embarrassing your black brothers from the West Indians, the West Indies, or even from Africa. I don't think African would want to associate with a poor man or woman. I mean, especially if you're a man in Africa, because women expect men to be rich. Most women in Africa still believe that, even in Europe, they are attracted to rich men. So you try and get rich as quickly as you can. And if you are poor, maybe, I don't know what you're going to do. And if you can no longer get credit to cover up on your poverty, what are you going to do, whether you are black or white? You're poor, you are hiding behind credit. You're borrowing your way to oblivion. To, like, you're inviting a journey to hell, even if you should go to heaven. Borrowing yourself, especially during the cost of living. What are you going to do? So leave a comment below. What do you think about poverty, the cost of living, and all these things I've been talking about? What do you think about the violence? Are we going to bring back peace? I say if you change the way you think, you begin to believe differently. And if you believe peace, you're going to start working towards peace. And you're going to improve the way society work, whether you are wealthy or not. A happy heart is actually a functioning soul. And sooner or later, if you begin to work peace, live peacefully, think peace, you're going to get wealth. You're going to be happy. Thank you for watching this video. I'll speak to you in the next one. I'll see you to the next one. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.